flashcards.
Yeah.
You grind through those gamified grammar apps.
Right, the ones with the little bells and whistles.
Exactly. You memorize endless charts of verb conjugations, and on paper, you are an absolute master.
But then reality hits.
Right. The moment of truth finally arrives. You're standing right in front of a native speaker. They ask you a basic everyday question, and your brain just completely flatlines.
Oh, it is the worst.
You just freeze up. Like, you know the words are in there somewhere, but your mouth simply refuses to cooperate.
It is a profoundly universal experience. I mean, and arguably it's the most demoralizing part of the learning process.
Totally.
It's that classic frustrating disconnect between, knowing a language intellectually and actually being able to deploy it in a real-world, high-pressure environment.
It really is the absolute worst. So today, we are going on a mission to fix exactly that in this deep dive.
I love that. We have a lot of ground to cover.
We really do. We are unpacking a highly effective, practical immersion framework that we pulled from a language educator's methodology.
And the promise here is incredibly ambitious, honestly.
Yeah, it really is. We are looking at a case study of a learner named Chang. And according to the breakdown, she went from essentially, not that good, to possessing top-notch, fully fluent English in just 3 years.
Which is wild. 3 years.
Just 3 years. And the methodology explicitly notes that it wasn't just passive absorption, like it was a highly specific, repeatable system.
Which is an important distinction to highlight right out of the gate.
Yeah, why is that?
Because, my core belief when analyzing any educational framework is that knowledge is really only valuable when it's applied.
Right.
And what this specific approach does brilliantly is it frames language acquisition not as some grueling academic exercise you do at a desk for an hour a day.
Which nobody wants to do anyway.
Exactly. But it frames it as a total lifestyle integration. It is about fundamentally restructuring how you interact with your daily existence.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the first major shift happens right when you wake up in the morning.
Right from the jump.
The argument here is that before you can conquer conversations out there in the big, unpredictable world, you actually have to conquer your own immediate living space.
Exactly. The framework introduces this concept of turning your home into a dedicated English zone.
Or, depending on your target language, a Spanish zone, a Japanese zone, whatever it may be.
Right, whatever you're learning. It forces you to acknowledge that literally everything in your house has a name, a function, and a specific set of verbs associated with it. And, you need to know all of them.
Right, and it gets incredibly granular. Like, there's a detailed example in our notes of just the act of making a morning coffee.
Oh, I loved this part.
Yeah, you don't just say, I am making coffee. You break it down to its mechanical components.
Right, step by step.
You identify the water tank. You identify the water dispenser.
You actively articulate that you are filling the tank from the dispenser.
Yes. Attaching it back to the coffee machine, inserting the coffee pod, pressing the button, and watching the liquid pour into the mug.
And not just a mug.
Right, a mug with a handle. That specificity.
That granularity is exactly where the magic happens, honestly. Because when we study from standard textbooks, we are usually taught situational vocabulary.
Like ordering at a restaurant.
Exactly. Or how to ask for directions to the train station, or how to check into a hotel.
Things you only do occasionally.
Right. We almost never learn the vocabulary for our immediate, mundane, physical reality.
Which is crazy because we live in it.
Exactly. Because of that, there are surprising nuances in everyday objects that we completely ignore in our target language, even though we use them every single day.
The door example from the material really highlighted this for me.
Oh, the knob versus the handle.
Yeah. It's so simple, but I had never stopped to consider the distinction. There is an exact, precise difference in English between a doorknob and a door handle.
Which is funny because I think most learners just treat them as basic synonyms.
Right. But structurally and functionally, they are entirely different mechanisms, which makes for a perfect vocabulary lesson.
It really does. Like, a doorknob is circular, it's round, and you have to physically wrap your hand around it and twist it to open the door.
Yeah, whereas a door handle, on the other hand, is rectangular or lever-shaped.
Right, you push it down to open the door, and in a lot of modern designs, you actually pull it up to engage the lock.
I love that. It's like turning your house into a giant interactive escape room where the clues are just your everyday objects.
That's a great way to think about it.
You're constantly mapping your environment. But practically speaking, what happens if you're in this escape room and you just genuinely don't know the word for something.
Right, you get stuck.
Yeah, because you can't just flip through a 900-page dictionary every time you walk into the kitchen.
Well, you don't have to anymore.
Thank goodness for technology, right?
Exactly. The modern solution provided here leverages AI tools like ChatGPT or Gemini.
Oh, that's smart.
It's an incredibly practical use case. You just take a picture of the unknown item with your phone and ask the AI, what is this called in English?
And the methodology pushes you to go beyond just getting a one-word answer, right? Like there's a really specific example involving a cushion.
Right, you don't just find out it's a cushion.
You ask the AI to help you build a complete descriptive profile.
Yes, and that is a crucial step.
So you end up formulating a sentence like, the cushion is red, it's in the shape of a love heart, it has long arms so it looks like a real creature.
Which is a very specific cushion, by the way.
Very specific.
Yeah.
It's made of cotton, and it's very comfy and soft. Then you tie it to an action.
Right, like, I like to use this cushion to support my head when I take a nap on the sofa. If we step back and look at the cognitive science behind that for a second.
Yeah, please do.
Formulating those complex descriptive sentences about an object's function anchors the vocabulary in your brain much securely than, say, memorizing a flashcard.
Because it's real to you.
Exactly. You are tying the abstract word to a physical sensation.
Like the softness of the cotton.
Right, or the relief of taking a nap. You are creating a multisensory memory network.
And you're supposed to apply this to literally every domestic task.
Every single one.
Like, I am frying an egg in the frying pan, I am standing under the shower head,
Yeah.
I am vacuuming the floor, or, as they specify for UK English, I am hoovering.
Hoovering, right. And it even extends to passive experiences.
Oh, like what?
Like if you're listening to a piano piece by the composer Austin Farwell, you actively ask yourself, what instruments am I hearing? How does this make me feel?
And you narrate that out loud.
Yes, you narrate that it makes you feel relaxed, at ease, and peaceful.
But here is the critical mechanism underlying all this environmental labeling, and it addresses that exact freezing up problem we talked about at the start.
Right.
You have to speak these sentences out loud.
That is non-negotiable.
Yeah, the creator of this method compares speaking out loud to going to the gym. It is fundamentally about muscle memory.
I really see the logic there.
Yeah, so it's less about intellect and more about actual biomechanics.
It is. It's about training the jaw and tongue for foreign vowels.
Right.
Absolutely. Because if your problem is that you can read a language perfectly well, but you freeze up when it's time to talk.
Which happens to so many of us.
It does, but it's highly likely that your physical articulatory system, you know, your mouth, your lips, your vocal cords, simply hasn't practiced the physical movements enough.
Right. Different languages require entirely different muscular gymnastics.
Exactly. And the more you physically move your mouth to form specific foreign sounds in the safety of your own kitchen, the faster those words will come out spontaneously when you're under pressure.
Now, to help with that spontaneous generation, there's a fascinating mental exercise included called the word association game.
Oh, this one is really fun to do.
It is. The goal is to just chain words together out loud to lower your anxiety.
Right, just rapid fire.
Yeah. You start with an object, like a physical bell, and the chain out loud goes, bell, to ring, to wedding, to celebration, to champagne, to wine, to bubbles, to water, to puddle, to rain, to mountain, to sky, to blue.
You just keep jumping from concept to concept without stopping to overthink it.
Right. What does that actually do for the brain, though?
Well, what that drill does is force the brain to bypass the translation filter entirely.
Oh, the translation filter, like when you pause to think in your native language first.
Exactly. You aren't thinking of a concept in your mother tongue and then looking up the English equivalent in your mental dictionary.
You're just staying in English.
Right. You are linking English concepts directly to other English concepts. It trains your brain to stay entirely within the target language's ecosystem.
Okay, so if we follow this logic, we've mastered the physical space. We are walking around our houses, articulating our egg frying and our hoovering out loud.
Getting those reps in?
Right, building up that muscle memory.
Right.
But language isn't a monologue. Like, to converse, you eventually have to decode how native speakers actually string these words together at speed.
Which requires authentic input.
Exactly. That brings us to consuming media. The advice is to watch what you love slightly above your level.
Right, so you move from output to input.
But, and I have a serious bone to pick with one of the strict rules here.
Uh-oh. Which one?
Absolutely no subtitles. Like, wait, turn off the subtitles completely.
Completely.
I've always treated subtitles as my ultimate safety net. If I'm watching a French movie without them, I feel like I'm just going to be lost in a wall of noise. How does taking away the text actually help?
What's fascinating here is, well, it sounds counterintuitive, I know, but there is a well-documented phenomenon that this framework calls the subtitle trap.
A subtitle trap.
Yeah. When you watch a show with subtitles on, your brain, which is incredibly efficient and inherently lazy, will inevitably take the path of least resistance.
Which means reading.
Exactly. It will fixate on reading the text. And when you are reading, you are almost completely severing the audiovisual link.
It's almost like using GPS to drive somewhere.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
Yeah, when you just blindly follow the blue line on your phone, you never actually learn the streets. You're just a passive passenger.
That is a perfect analogy.
Subtitles make you a passive passenger in the language.
They really do. You aren't actually observing the action on screen, watching the body language, and listening to how the vocabulary maps to that specific immediate context.
Right, you're just reading.
Removing the subtitles forces your brain to leverage visual memory. When you link a sound you hear with the physical action happening on screen, it creates a much stronger cognitive hook.
Which makes sense.
And this entire concept is based on a linguistic theory called comprehensible input.
Break down comprehensible input for me in this context. What does that actually look like?
It essentially means you shouldn't be pausing the video every 5 seconds to aim for a 100% perfect word-for-word translation.
Because that just ruins the flow.
Completely ruins it. The goal is to understand roughly 70 to 80% of what is happening based on context clues, tone of voice, and visuals.
So you're filling in the blanks natural.
Exactly. It is about acquiring the language naturally, the way a child does, rather than forcing rote memorization.
Which totally explains the highly specific TV recommendations they have based on a learner's level, ensuring they hit that 70 to 80% sweet spot.
Right.
Like for absolute beginners, the recommendation is children's shows. They specifically point to Peppa Pig, Bluey, and the movie Finding Nemo.
And, while adults might roll their eyes at watching Peppa Pig.
I mean, I would.
Right. But those shows are practically engineered in a laboratory for comprehensible input.
Oh, because they're so straightforward.
Exactly. The narrative arcs are incredibly simple. The episodes are short so you don't suffer from cognitive fatigue.
That's a good point. Stamina is hard when learning.
It really is. The vocabulary is strictly foundational, and most importantly, the on-screen visuals perfectly match the spoken dialogue.
Right, if a character says, "I am jumping in a muddy puddle," they are simultaneously jumping in a muddy puddle on screen.
There is zero ambiguity.
Now, for intermediate learners, the framework suggests stepping up to sitcoms. The creator actually used Friends to help learn French.
Which is a great testament to its pacing.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
They also recommend TED Ed videos.
TED Ed specifically.
Specifically TED Ed rather than standard TED Talks because the animations provide that crucial visual anchor.
Oh, that makes a ton of sense.
But the absolute gold standard for intermediate learners, according to this deep dive, is David Attenborough documentaries. Planet Earth and the newer series, Kingdom.
I mean, David Attenborough's is truly a masterclass for language learners, and it has everything to do with his vocal delivery and thematic focus.
He is a British national treasure.
He is. But, practically speaking, he speaks with deliberate slowness and immaculate enunciation.
You can hear every single syllable.
Exactly. Furthermore, because his documentaries are hyper-focused on the natural world, the earth, animal, survival, whether you hear a core set of vocabulary repeating over and over again.
But across dozens of different visual contexts.
Exactly. Repetition, clarity, and stunning visuals. It is the holy trinity of language acquisition.
And once you graduate to advanced, the media landscape is wide open, obviously, but they highly recommend Peep Show.
Oh, Peep Show.
Yeah, it's described as peak British humor, which is crucial because you aren't just learning words anymore.
Right, you're learning the culture.
We are decoding the cultural mindset, like how British people use sarcasm and irony.
Which is a whole different language in itself.
Truly. They also highlight The Office and The Inbetweeners.
The Inbetweeners is great for that.
They specifically note that The Inbetweeners is unparalleled for learning authentic colloquial slang that you will absolutely never find in a textbook.
I bet. But, passive watching is only half the equation here.
Right.
The methodology introduces a mandatory post-watch protocol.
A post-watch protocol.
Yeah. The moment the credits roll, you have to ask yourself 3 simple questions out loud to bridge that gap between input and output.
What are the questions?
What did I just watch? What was it about? And did I like it or not?
Ah, so forcing you to instantly summarize the plot and articulate a subjective opinion.
Exactly.
There's actually an educational case study included in the materials to show how this works in practice. It involves a platform called Sprout Language.
Oh, right.
Yeah, they actually have a 50% off Luna New Year deal going on. But on there, learners connect for speaking sessions. The example follows Chang, the learner we mentioned at the top of the show.
Right, the one who achieved fluency in 3 years.
That's her. So she's doing a post-watch practice session with an interlocutor named J.I.
Right, it's a brilliant demonstration of applied learning.
So Chang watches a video about everyday life where someone goes skiing for their birthday, and immediately afterwards, she jumps into a conversation with J.I.
And J.I. asks a natural question, right?
Exactly, like, have you ever been skiing before?
Mm-hmm.
And Chang starts describing how it was her first time ever seeing snow. She uses the word magical to describe the experience.
Magical, I love that.
Yeah, and J.I. validates that emotion, carrying the conversation forward by complimenting how fast she picked up the sport. It's entirely fluid.
And notice what happened there, right? Chang didn't just recite vocabulary words about skis and snow.
Oh, she didn't.
She articulated a profound personal emotion, finding the snow magical in her target language.
Which is huge.
It is. When you can validate your own emotional experiences in a new language, you solidify your fluency on a much deeper neurological level.
It makes it real, which transitions us perfectly to the final piece of the puzzle.
The final frontier.
Exactly. We've covered articulation with the mouth. We've covered decoding with the ears and eyes.
Right.
The final frontier is cognition itself, the mind.
Yes.
The ultimate goal of this framework is training your brain to actually think in the target language.
This is undoubtedly the hardest phase,
Okay, for sure.
because our default setting is always going to be our mother tongue. It is the path of least neurological resistance.
But here's where it gets really interesting,
Mm.
because the strategy is to actively hijack your own internal monologue.
Hijack your own thoughts.
Yeah, you utilize dead time, like sitting on a bus during your commute or
Right.
standing in line at the grocery store where you can't exactly be talking to yourself out loud.
Right, people might look at you funny.
Exactly. So you force your thoughts into the target language. But honestly, isn't it completely exhausting to manually force your brain to narrate your own life in a second language?
In the beginning, it is incredibly exhausting.
I figured.
Yeah, the methodology is very upfront about this reality. It requires a tremendous amount of highly conscious, deliberate effort.
You really have to push through it.
You do. You have to monitor your thoughts and actively translate them in real time.
Right.
But if we connect this to the broader mechanics of human habit formation, that conscious strain is temporary.
It doesn't last forever.
No, eventually the neural pathways adapt, and the active translation fades into a subconscious automatic process.
The material provides this incredibly relatable, mundane example of an internal monologue while doing the dishes.
Doing the dishes.
Yeah, you're just standing at the kitchen sink and the internal narration goes, I should probably wash the dishes right now. I can't really be bothered, but might as well. Right, I'm going to take the scour, pump some washing up liquid on that scour, turn on the tap.
What stands out to me in that example is the emotional texture of it.
Well-
It's not just a robotic labeling of kitchen
Yeah.
utensils. They are narrating their own reluctance and shifting moods.
Exactly. The inner monologue continues with this hilarious mix of feelings.
Like what?
Like, on one hand, they note how satisfying it is to see all the lovely soapy suds.
Soapy suds. I love that.
But literally a second later, they feel like the chore is, quote, a bit like slave labor. Yeah, and then they rinse off the soapy suds, look at the remaining dirty dishes in the sink and think, chopsticks or drumsticks? Do I want to wash the rest of those things up? Nah, leave that to Chang.
Which is such a vital breakthrough.
Why is that?
Because human beings do not think in perfectly structured, formal grammar sentences.
No, our thoughts are chaotic.
Exactly. We think in fragments, in petty complaints, in tiny moments of satisfaction over something as silly as lovely soapy suds.
So true.
By forcing your internal monologue to adopt the target language, complete with all its slang and messiness, you are finally bridging the gap between artificial academic study and genuine lived human experience.
So what does this all mean? Like, if we zoom out and look at the entire architecture of this methodology,
A big picture.
right, the core insight is that true language immersion isn't a geographical location.
No, it's not.
You don't have to buy a plane ticket to fully immerse yourself. You can construct the immersion environment yourself.
In your own living room.
Exactly. Your home is your active zone, using everyday objects to build up that biomechanical muscle memory in your jaw and tongue.
The coffee machine, the door handle.
Right. And your media consumption is your decoding zone, ripping the Band-Aid off, ditching the GPS of subtitles, and forcing your brain to build visual audio links.
Through Peppa Pig or David Attenborough.
Yes. And finally, your mind is the ultimate testing ground, hijacking your own internal monologue until the target language becomes second nature.
And it is crucial to emphasize that while the examples we've discussed today lean heavily on English.
Using British sitcoms and regional vocabulary like hoovering.
Exactly. But the cognitive blueprint is completely